There are 4 or 5 upgrade projects in the world right now where we're taking old particle therapy centers and changing the existing equipment to new equipment. So it's a relatively new project type. We're learning so much, and we're gathering lessons learned that I think are really valuable lessons. The lessons we're learning on these particle therapy upgrade projects is informing how we should be designing new projects. So even though these are existing buildings that we're upgrading with new equipment, we're learning valuable lessons about how to design new freestanding buildings so that we can provide more flexibility such that in 30 years, when our clients want to upgrade their equipment, we need to build in flexibility now into the design to really anticipate those changes. Because as we all know, the technology is advancing and changing daily. In 20 years from now, or even less, our clients may want to upgrade some of the pieces of the system or certain elements or the entire system. And the building should not stand in the way. A couple projects in particular, project in Boston for MGH, where we're upgrading all of the equipment with new equipment, but we're upgrading the equipment with the same vendor's system. So it has a very similar footprint. And yes, it has advanced over the last 20, 30 years, but the footprint remains similar. So that has, certainly challenges of pulling out this enormous and very heavy equipment out of an existing building. They put a new tower on that building, which provided enormous challenges to go back in and try to extract the equipment because it's so big, and it came in through roof hatches, and in some cases those have been covered with a new tower above. And when the folks came in and built a new tower above, they didn't really fully appreciate what needed to be left accessible because they didn't design the Proton Therapy Center to begin with. So that's a unique challenge that we came upon at MGH. In Houston, we're upgrading the PTC-1 project with new equipment. In this case, we're not using the same vendor. We're going from vendor A to vendor B, and they have a completely different footprint. It's interesting because for PTC-1 and the different vendors' configuration, vendor A is much wider, but it's shallower than vendor B. We have the advantage with vendor B to be much narrower. It easily fits in the existing vaults, but we have to blow out the back wall because it's deeper than the original vendor, than the existing condition. So what we're finding is changing dramatically from one vendor to the next, changing the footprint requires a lot of reconstruction. Okay, that's fine, except that we're talking about heavily shielded walls, 10, 11, 12-foot thick concrete walls, solid concrete walls, and roofs and foundations. And so when you add all that up, changing from vendor A to B, or changing the system from one type of system to another, even if it's the same vendor, can result in a significant change to the building. And this is what we're finding. So we have a challenge in Boston where they built a tower above. And then we have a challenge in Houston where we're changing vendors, which means we're changing the footprint completely. Both lead to challenging prospect of putting new equipment in the building. The bottom line is we're learning how valuable flexibility is. When we designed all these centers over the last 25 years, as the principal architect, I can tell you what was top of mind for us was conforming to the vendor specifications. The building had to be precisely designed and built to accommodate that equipment exactly. We were frankly thinking less about flexibility. We were thinking more about meeting the absolute requirements, the specifications from that particular vendor. Now, with the upgrade projects that are underway now, and this is a new project type for us, this is starting to change, and the upgrade projects are starting to define or redefine our thinking for the new projects. And flexibility is the key. Why can't we build in more flexibility into these new projects so that in 20 years it's easier to change the equipment? We're doing that now. And so I think that's the message for this conversation, is just to convey just how important flexibility is. Absolutely, we have to design to the specifications of the vendor, but can we design to that plus flexibility? Absolutely, why not? Maybe we add a little bit more room. We know that it's costly construction. If you add 1 foot of shielding wall, you're gonna add cost to the project. But what is that cost worth in 20 years when it's much easier to change the environment? So what is flexibility? Flexibility in a particle therapy center is anything that we do in the design and construction that allows for a change in technology, whether that be a footprint or a configuration.